Brain's Telenetwork, the go-to site for your infinite source of precise, reliable, and factual material exposing the Watchtower organization.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome in once again to our icebreaker program for the night, Returning to Light. And we have a former Jehovah's Witness. His name is Roland Smith, and he's coming out of the United Kingdom. And then we have Chad Burns. Of course, he's one that loves to expose the Watchtower, and he's on with us as well. So let's bring the two people onto our platform here so we can say hello to them. Hello, guys. How are we doing?
Hello there. How's it going over there?
All right. In fact, I got to plug my mic in. I do have sound, but I want to get a little bit louder. So let's do that. I think you guys should be good now. So doing good, Roland, doing good. So you guys are looking spiffy and ready to roll. So what we'll do is I'll cut out of here and let you guys do your program, but I'm here if you need me.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Rick. Thank you very much. So, Chad, do you want to start us off what we're going to talk about this week?
I thought this week we would talk about building healthy habits. You know, once you come out of the Watchtower, you have all this extra time on your hands, and it's real easy to become obsessed with the Watchtower and all the pain and suffering they've put you through. And, you know, it's time to kind of let go of that and build up some healthy habits.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes, I'm thinking from my own point of view, when I first left the Watchtower, I think just before I left, I'd sort of started putting things in place a bit. I think, I'd sort of I'd subconsciously done it. I'd started talking to different people outside of the congregation. I'd spoken to a couple of different chaplains that I knew outside of the congregation, obviously, and so sort of subconsciously, I'd started talking to them when I went to PMO, and I started, I guess, getting an idea of what was actually wrong with the Watchtower, because I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It was just, I knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't the truth, but there was still a lot of stuff in my mind. The blood issue and the Trinity and things like that, and also mixing in everyday life, because obviously we were advised not to have friends or family that were shunned or whatever, so we went out there into the world. Really, it's like being transported somewhere where you have no idea who anybody is, what to do when you get there, or how to approach them, or what steps you can take to get over that sudden shock of having nothing sometimes, because sometimes your family can also, I was fortunate, I got family that weren't witnesses anyway, so when I left it wasn't such a big issue, but a lot of people have got that, and so the whole families, all shun them. So they've literally come out and they've got absolutely nothing. So, so I think this is a big thing, and it's something that it can become an obsession if we go too much the other way as well, because we come out, we're quite angry, I think, at the Watchtower, especially if we've been in a good few years. We're probably angry with a lot of the things, such as the paedophilia and everything really. Let's face it, just about everything, and we're just horrified that so much of our lives was spent doing that work, and now we've got these anger issues. They may have hurt us. They may have hurt us mentally. They've probably hurt us, could be possibly physically, sexually, whatever. Some of us have suffered various different forms of abuse. So there's a lot of anger there, and sometimes I think when we come out, we can spend all our time turning that anger towards them. So in actual fact, what we're doing is not actually moving away from the Watchtower and having a life ourselves, because the devotion we put in as witnesses to try and forward or press the message of the Watchtower. Now we're doing just the same, but only pushing against it, aren't we? This is the problem. So what would you suggest then, Chad?
Well, I think first off, building healthy habits is a big thing, because once you come out, and like you said, you're going to be angry at them about everything because they've lied to you about every facet of life. They've lied to you about how non-witnesses live, how they think, how they treat other people. They've really messed with your mind to a point where you're starting not just a new chapter of your life, but really you're starting a whole new life. It's almost like culture shock. They talk about if you ever do training to become a missionary, one of the things they do is they train you in the culture of the land they're going to take you to. Well, once you get kicked out of the Watchtower, or once you come out of the Watchtower, now all of a sudden you're in the real world, not the world they have created in your mind. And it's just culture shock, because all of a sudden you start finding out everything they've told you about everything in life is a lie. So I think really learning how to interact with people in new ways, and just trying to find places and doing things that you're comfortable with as a starting point, and then expanding upon that is a really good.
I think that's taking what you say there. Where do you think you really would start? I mean, I suppose my thoughts would be, I mean, these things can happen literally overnight. You can be a Jehovah's Witness one day and not the next, because you've had a judiciary hearing and they've decided that you're out, and that's it. So before you know it, you're out and you're shunned, and it can literally happen almost overnight. And the thing is, so it's like being picked up and being put in China. You don't speak the language, you don't know the custom, and for us it's very similar. And even if we hadn't been Jehovah's Witnesses before we went in, perhaps we had a little bit of streetwise knowledge. By the time you've done a few years in there, you've forgotten most of that. I mean, right. I know myself, I was reasonably streetwise. I thought I'd become a Jehovah's Witness for 19 years, and I'd almost forgotten, and it was a culture shock. And I must admit, the hardest thing for me was, where do I start? What is step one? And that's what I'm saying. What is step one, do you think?
Oh, wow. I would say...
A wonderful topic, gentlemen. It's really helping me today. I'm going to let you know, the early birds here, what the late night owls were discussing last week. We were talking about the Robert Lifton book from 1963, and how some of the Korean War techniques were also used as a playbook for the witnesses.
Yep.
So I looked at the book, but it didn't help me move forward. It just reminded me of all the trouble I'd been through. So for us to move forward, we need to say, okay, did we learn anything that will help us? And we're very good at public speaking, all of us. We're very good at knowing how to dress for business. And we're very good at showing up on time. So the fact that we can schedule our day is super great. The fact that we know how to dress in the big wide world is super great. And the fact that we're good readers, good thinkers, and good speakers is super great. Now, what I have lots of trouble with is trusting other people.
Right.
And last week, I got a business associate of mine to say, yes, I will be there on a certain day to go with you to an event. And I found that a simple sentence really helped me getting that from the other person. So a little interpersonal skills really is needed for all of us. I know it's needed for me.
Do you find that you don't trust other people because of the way the witnesses treated you?
I do. I really believe that it goes back, it's deep rooted from my earliest years, because I was oftentimes the golden child in the congregation. I excelled in life. I was well liked. But there was this trust issue that I think does go back to the witnesses. They said one thing and did something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, you couldn't trust people, even your own friends. You couldn't trust them, because if you did something or you said something that was a little bit out of line with the Watchtower, they were almost, well, they were programmed to go and tell the elder, look, Roland or whoever, isn't isn't towing the line. He's saying something that only apostates would say, or he's got apostate thinking. He's thinking in terms of false religion. And the elders will tell them that they're doing me a favor by sort of reporting me to the elders, because it's loving kindness to me to correct me. That's how they put it. That's your brainwashing right there. That's communism.
Right. And so I went back and looked at the communication that I'd had with this person I'd worked with, and I thought, wait a minute, they weren't on time on this other thing. And I contacted them again, and the person said, yes, I will be there. So I think getting a confirmation in a business environment or in a personal environment was really super helpful to me. So really plain declarative sentences in your communication with the other person. The most simplest two-way communication is best in business, and it really helps you to learn to trust other people.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you were saying, Chad, we was going with sort of point one, and then where we got to? I think you was just sort of outlining, weren't you, similar to what you just said, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you got to work on those communication skills and building relationships. And I think the best way to do that is to get into a small social setting where the ramifications are very small. So, Pixie was just talking about books, and we know that she loves doing book clubs and things. Those are excellent places to start. If you go to your local library and ask the librarian, hey, do you know of any local book clubs that are starting? Or go to a bookstore and ask if they know of any. That's a really good way to get involved in a project that's going to take up some of your time. It's going to expose you to social interactions, especially if you're reading something like a self-help book or a fiction book, especially, because then, it can be, there's nothing to tell. You don't have to worry about someone telling on you about your thoughts of something, because you're going to be sharing it anyway.
Yeah.
So finding just these little things like that can be a big help. Also, I know here we have junior colleges, or they're also called community colleges, and they have tons. I threw it away, but I just got a catalog from my local community college in the mail, and it was probably about 50 pages, and all it is in the world. all this catalog was a listing of all the different classes and things you can take. And I think a good place to start is getting involved. Find something that you would like to do or work on yourself. It can be something as small as a cooking class, or you can learn to play an instrument. Actually, it was interesting. They actually, at my local community college, they actually have a class on how to play the ukulele.
No, there you go. Yeah, but there's all these little things, isn't there? I mean, I know round where I live, there's walking groups. I mean, because we've sort of very countrified area, and we've got woods and beaches and all sorts of things, moors around us. And we have a lot of walking clubs and things like that. There's a lot of different things like knitting and different various loads of different groups. Actually, there's loads around when you start looking. And I think, like you say, further education is something that not just the young can do, but also something that older ones can maybe take on as well, because maybe they've missed it. Well, they will have missed the opportunity probably if there was witnesses for most of their lives, because obviously education was frowned upon. I know a few witnesses, actually ex-witnesses, that have left, and they've actually gone on and done very well. My own daughter included. She went on to get a law degree and stuff, and technically she's still a witness. Actually, she's never been disfellowshipped, she's never disassociated, but she's she's pregnant with another man's child and he's not a witness, so I think that would do it. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah, but she's moved down, sort of further down south now, but she went, because they put her off further education. She was going to go to uni, and they said, "Oh no, get a local job, something that doesn't take up your time, spend your time pioneering." So she didn't get the opportunity to go, and she didn't, she listened to them, and then a few years later she regretted it, and so then she sort of, she just sort of went inactive, and she then decided she would sort of apply to go to uni, and anyway, 3 years later, she got through it, and now she's further down south, and what we call the Midlands, and she's doing all right. So there are, I know even older people, like people my own age, in my 50s now. Even they're doing further education things, and they're getting a lot of joy out of it, and it's also boosting the confidence, because that's the thing that you don't have a lot of is confidence when you first come out. So, and I think it's
Right.
that confidence thing. Well, I mean, I don't know about you, but I think the first thing to do really is to build your confidence a bit, because you really are not confident when you leave.
Right. I think that's a really important place to start, because your mind is going to be overwhelmed with doubts, and it's going to be overwhelmed with fear. And I think the first thing you have to do is start alleviating those things. You have to start addressing those fears, and you have to start getting out from underneath those doubts, because the Watchtower has told you your entire life that all your value, all of your worth is caught up in serving this organization. And then you find out in one way, shape, or form that this organization is one big lie. So then all of a sudden, all your worth and all your value has been in serving a lie. Well, that's not good for your self-esteem. That's not good for your mental health. That's not good for you in any way, shape, or form. So that has to be addressed. And, it's like I always tell everyone, don't ever get mad at yourself because you believed a lie. It's not your fault someone else lied to you. So I think a big part of it is forgiving yourself and getting over it, and just saying, I refuse to be a victim anymore. Because when you come out of the Watchtower, for whatever reason, whether you were kicked out or whether you came to see the truth and you return to the real light and you've come out of it, well, you still have some baggage to deal with. And I think at that point, you have to say, I'm not going to be a victim of theirs any longer. I'm going to live my life, and I'm not going to do it the way they told me to. Because, I've seen so many times with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that I interact with, and we've heard it how many times on the 6 screens people call in. And what is the one thing they are always told when they mention they want to leave the Watchtower? Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Well, here's a good way to answer them. I'll go where the truth is.
Yeah.
Or I will go where Jehovah God wants me to go. Now, when you say things like that to a witness, all of a sudden you're planting doubt in their mind. They might not accept it right then and there. It might not register right then and there, but you're planting a seed of doubt that what they have believed to be where God wants them to be, it's not where God wants them to be. You're using loaded language, because the question they ask, well, if you're not here with us, where are you going to go? That's a loaded question, because it assumes and it presupposes that there's nowhere else to go. And that's part of that brainwashing that the Watchtower has, because they always program you. If you're not here with us, there's nowhere else to go. So then the natural question is, well, if you're not going to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, where are you going to go? What are you going to do?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all part of that pre-programmed thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is, you know, that is the problem. You know, it is the worry of where do you go, and you do find that, you know, you can, when you come out, you can still be in that frame of mind and not even realize it. You know, it took me ages and ages to realize there was still a bit of it still in me. You know, and I mean, I thought I was completely clear of it, but I wasn't. I found myself slipping up and thinking things that was Jehovah's Witness thinking, and you know, and I was just surprised how much was left in there, really, to be honest with you. And it was, yeah, it does. It takes a bit of clearing, but you know, it will clear eventually. And you know, and so what I was going to say, do you think? I mean, you and I were on a few different forums. We've talked to witnesses, we talked to ex-witnesses,
Oh, yeah.
and various other people. You know, do you think these forums and things? I mean, I personally think they're quite healthy in some respects because it puts you in contact with other ex-JWs. But do you think they're healthy in general to be on?
Overall, I think they can be, as long as you're not going to get absolutely obsessed. And that's the big thing, is there are some people, they get, because they are angry toward the Watchtower, they just get obsessed with wanting to see the Watchtower go down in flames. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to see the Watchtower die out and go away. But when that starts consuming your life, that's where it becomes a very slippery slope. And I know I've been able to make contact with dozens of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and I've been building some friendships through the forums, through the 6 screens, where, you know, I've been able to really be a help to some of these people, and they've been a big help to me. You know, I know a lot of times, a lot of people think I'm only here to help others. In reality, as much as I try to minister to the needs of other people, a lot of times it's you guys, it's the audience members, it's the other hosts of the other programs that minister to me, because you challenge me with my thoughts and things like that. So, you know, and that's another thing. I really love the online XJW community, because it is a place where you can go and you might not think you're doing anything but being a bump on the log. In reality, you're not. You're challenging other people as much as you yourself would be challenged. And I would say, you know, there's a lot of people that just lurk. You know, they're on the forums, but they never post. They read things other people say, and they, you know, they listen to it. That's great. And that's wonderful to do. But I think it's even better when you start reaching out and start communicating and you start participating, because at that point, you're not only taking a step further into your own rehabilitation, but you're starting to help other people as well, because at that point, you can start sharing your experiences and your time in the cult.
Yeah,
so I think that can be a very healthy thing.
Yeah, I mean, what I've found about the forums, they have been quite good. I mean, if it hadn't been for the forums and the sites that we were on, to be honest, I wouldn't have known half of the stories out there. I mean, I've spoken to, I don't know how many people now, ex-JWs, and there's loads of them, and there's more and more joining by the day.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and to be honest, I wouldn't have realized that these people were out there had I not sort of looked through. And to be honest, it helped me, you know, because I saw these different stories, and I thought it's no, you know, a lot of these stories are very similar to my own, or I've heard similar in my own congregation or other congregations, and these things are happening all around the world. It's not just me. It's not just me being a bad witness, or me that's just not gelling with that particular religion. You know, it's not me being sort of rebellious. You know, it's everybody's noticing it. It's not just me, and I think that was a big help. You know, that I realised I wasn't on my own, and I could see some of these stories, and I thought, well, you know, that's exactly my story, almost word for word, different people, same story. You know, in some respects, in a lot of respects, and I found it was really, really helpful. I mean, but the only thing I did find and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but what I did find when I first left was I couldn't let an argument go. If somebody was on there, an XJ or a JW, sorry, an active JW on the JW and XJW sites that were on, I found that I couldn't, if somebody was arguing about something, I couldn't let it go, and I would be up for hours, back and forth with the person, because I felt it. In one way, I felt it was my duty because I brought a lot of people into. Well, I don't know about a lot of people into the JWs, but I brought a good few. I brought more than my fair share over the years, you know, so it was my duty in some ways to try and get through to these people. Also, I felt that really, as a true blue JW, I wouldn't have been on them forums because we was warned not to by the governing body. So I thought the fact that they're even on there suggests that they've got a slight doubt because they're already disobeying the governing body by being on there. And I felt that the fact that they're on there, to me, it makes me feel like they're wanting to prove that their truth is the truth. They're wanting to go on there and they're thinking to themselves, oh, we'll go on there, we'll see a load of apostates, we'll see different Christians, and we can argue with them and our stuff will prove to be right. And somehow it bolsters their faith. But when that starts to crash down around them, when they start to see that they're wrong or the Watchtower is wrong, they get quite annoyed and they can get quite abusive. And I found that was also an issue because they could get quite nasty at times. And some of the things, although I spent 19 years with them, I've grown a thick skin to a certain extent. Some things did bite, you know what I mean? Some things did rattle my cage. And it really hurt and it did affect me mentally. And, you know, and that's the only issue I have really with these forums is the fact that how wrapped up we get in them. I mean, I still spend most days going on them. I do different things on there. I do have a chat with different people. I will debate with people, but I don't let it run my whole life now. I'm not, if I, you know, after a few hours or an hour or two, that if I, you know, if I'm not getting anywhere, I just let it go, you know, for a while and let somebody else have a go because there's plenty of other people on there. That's the other thing as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like, I know for me, there's a couple people that are current JWs. They're in the XJW forums. And I love going back and forth with them because for me, having never been a JW and then also having had to learn how to do proper research, how to verify facts and do all this kind of stuff. For me, I love just looking up their claims to see if any of it is legitimate or not. And there's a couple people I'm back and forth with all the time. And I see them like every week, Stephen Dale Smith and Rita Corpus. And like, I go back and forth with these two because they act like they know so much, but it's scary how way off they are in pretty much everything they say. And I've tried to get both of them to come on the programs and they won't, of course. And we know why, because if they do come on, they're going to get exposed and people are going to see what they're really like. And more than that, they know that they're going to be exposed. They don't want that.
No, that's true.
So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anybody got a comment at this point before we carry on? Any callers?
*6, anybody who's on the line. If anybody's watching online and they want to call in and talk with us, the phone number is 727-731-6701. Once again, that phone number, 727-731-6701. Just call it in, *6 to unmute yourself. But yeah.
Quiet night tonight, Chad. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Roland and Chad. Yes, I wanted to mention something about certain chat boards and anger problems that become a problem on those boards. Sometimes if we get too involved in it, it can whip up the anger in us, and we should really be careful. I
Yeah.
guess I'm mostly speaking about Reddit. There's a lot of swearing. There's a lot of vitriol going on there. So you really need to be careful and understand that people are unloading. They're very angry. They might have been extremely hurt, and they might not mean everything they say, but for the time being, they're pretty angry. So you should be aware. People should be aware of that.
Right. I think that's a really, really excellent point Susan just made, Roland. And I would also add that we need to just be careful how we're saying what we're saying, because if we want people to join in the cause to bring down the Watchtower, then we can't be talking with tons of foul language and stuff like that.
Hello, is there a caller?
Hello.
Come in, caller. Hello, caller.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, speak up, caller. Go ahead. You're on with us.
Hello.
You're on with us, caller. Speak up.
Oh, I don't know, Chad.
Yeah, me neither.
So,
Yeah. Good day.
Hey, come closer to your phone. Come closer to your phone. We can't quite hear. It's too gargly. Come closer, make it nice and clear.
Hello.
We can hear you.
just make a comment, caller. If you've got a comment, just come in with it. We can hear you. Come on.
Yeah, he sounds like he's in a stairwell or something.
Yeah, I think we've lost him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let him go. I'm not sure what he's trying to do.
Yeah, all right, just let him go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so you're saying about anger. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, if we show the world only our anger, then we're not going to get anyone to join the fight. You know, you can sit there and you can show tons of emotion, and emotion may be used to inspire a movement, but you can't base a movement strictly upon emotion. And a big thing about bringing down the Watchtower community, you can get angry over what they've done, but people are not going to side with you because you're angry. What they'll side with you about is when you expose why you're angry, and you say things like, yes, they protect the child predators. Yes, they are extorting money from people. Yes, they are breaking up families. Yes, they're
needlessly letting people die from blood.
Things like that.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you have people's ear. They want to hear about it, and then you can share that information with them and let your emotions out. And at that point, your emotions are emphasizing the importance of the message you're spreading. But like with places like Reddit, I signed up with Reddit just so I could get on some of the forums and look and see what's been said. And I haven't signed in since I signed up, because it was just so much foul language and anger and hatred. Nobody was saying anything of value. They were only spewing their anger and hatred. And it's like, well, sorry, that's not going to help anybody but maybe yourself. And if you're not going to do anything but be negative and full of anger, in the long run, you're only going to be hurting yourself by doing that too. So, yeah. I mean, there has to be a balance there.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, we've got to remember that the individuals are not the Watchtower. You know, the individual people are, even in all the congregations, they're not the Watchtower. There's the odd dodgy individual in there. There's some elders, the paedophiles. Well, we haven't got no time for them. We want to see them locked up and what have you. But they pray. They use that religion to pray, and I think that's what we can sort of. It's things like that, the injustices that we've had for so many years. That's what makes us so angry. I think it's the injustice, And the trouble is, you can come out into the world and feel that same injustice is out there in the world as well. So where then do you go, you see?
Right. And I think that's just a really good place to start is getting involved in some of the communities and not getting so obsessed to where all you're doing is being a negative Nancy. Because once you become a negative Nancy, nobody wants to hear what you have to say. But that's a lot of what we see even in the XJW forums and stuff. You know, if someone wants to be an atheist after they leave the Watchtower, that's, you know, their thing. But they get so angry at the Watchtower, they become atheists, not because they don't believe in God, but because they're angry at the Watchtower who does believe in God. And then you'll see XJWs who are turned atheists. They go on the attack against anyone, whether, you know, if that person becomes a Jew or a Muslim or a Christian or whatever else. They go on the attack and they attack their fellow XJWs.
Yes, I've had that myself. I've been attacked for being a Christian from an XJW atheist, you know, and I said, whoa. You know, if you're an atheist, that's fine. You know what I mean? I'm not going to judge you. It's not up to me to judge him. You know, I mean, it's up to, you know, I can understand that fully, you know, coming out of the Watchtower, not wanting anything to do with God or anything, any religion whatsoever. I myself, I believed in God, but I didn't really want anything particularly to do with any religion when I first came out, because I thought they was all corrupt, the whole lot of them. And so I can understand perfectly somebody being an atheist when they come out, because they're so angry. They're so angry at the Watchtower. They're so angry. And they, of course, you know, that's related to God, because God was the center, or supposed to be the center. You know, Jehovah, that was the center. So Jehovah is God in their mind. So therefore, God is to blame as well, or God, it doesn't exist. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If that's what they want to believe, I mean, I'm not going to judge them. It doesn't matter to me. If, you know, I mean, I'd rather people be Christian, but that's just my personal opinion. And you know, and that's what I do as a Christian. I try and help others to become Christian if possible, or to find, at least, to put them on the path to Christianity at least.
Right.
Or if I don't succeed and they continue to be atheist, well, that's fine. But I think as an XJW community, we can do a lot more coming together. Forget the opposites, like, well, yeah, you're Christian, I'm an atheist. Forget all that. We've all been XJWs and we've all suffered under that regime. Can we not come together on that? Can we not get with other XJWs? And you know, like, this is what we do on the 6 screens. We all come together. We're a family, aren't we? You know, and some of us have got different views. Some of us believe, you know, some things, and I know there's others on the show that I'm not totally sure about. I keep an open mind about, but I would never attack any of them, because they're family. You know, we're all together. We're all got the same goal of bringing the Watchtower down, but we can do it more jointly. You know, divided we stand. United we stand, divided we fall. You know, and
there's that common sense of community.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like in World War II, after the concentration camps were all liberated, there were some people, they stayed in the concentration camps because they didn't have anywhere to go. And I remember hearing a story of one woman, she couldn't wait to leave the concentration camp. Once she did, she realized nobody around her experienced the things she did. So when she ended up getting married, she ended up getting pregnant, she went back to the concentration camp to have her child, because she wanted to have her child in a place surrounded by people of a shared experience.
Yeah.
And that was what was important to her, was having the unconditional love that shared experience could bring about. And the thing is, apart from that shared experience, these people, a lot of them could not stand each other. But because they had to undergo so many of the horrible experiences perpetrated by the Nazis, all of a sudden they had this common ground that they could all unite on. and they could all say, even though we're different, we love each other.
Yeah,
And that's where
absolutely.
the XJW community really needs to be. And I hope to see it get to be more like that.
Yeah,
myself.
absolutely. Somebody want to come in? I thought somebody was wanting to speak up there.
I have a point to go along with what you guys were saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Eric from Providence. My name is Eric. You were talking about getting frustrated and angry, and I agree. I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness, apostate. I still believe in God. I just don't really belong to a religion anymore. But I crash their carts at times, and I place stickers around them, and I talk to them, and usually it starts off very pleasant, and I try to be very kind. But sometimes, like, for all the pain that I'm going through, losing my family, and all the abuse that I went through by 6 elders, because I had 2 committees, 4 reinstatement letters for me, 5 for my wife. You get frustrated when you can't use reason, and they shut down, and I did. At the end of the conversation, they packed up their cart, and I ended up dropping an F-bomb. And I'm letting the community know that's not the way to go at it, but it is extremely hard to keep your cool when you know the truth of something, and these people are peddling lies, and it's just it's really frustrating. And then they'll tell you, oh no, we allow beards, and let me tell you, because I have a long beard, and they do not allow beards, because I gave a number 2 talk, and I was in auto body at the time, and I knew I had a late day, so I shaved in the morning, and when I went there at night, I had a shadow, and the elder, brought me in the back room and counseled me for not shaving for a talk.
You know what? I was in a psychiatric hospital. I was really poorly, and an elder came in, and I got a bit of growth on my chin. He said, and he looked at me. He said, "You can shave that off for a start." And I was actually in the hospital when he said it. I mean, that's how ridiculous it was with the beards.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's ridiculous. So it also peeves me off when I know they're lying, when you talk to them, because what the witnesses do, and I was guilty of it too. Oh, well, no, we're not here to convert. We are.
We so are.
Yeah.
It was
Watchtower.
Yeah.
But I just thought I would add that point. And about Reddit, they can tend to be positive, but there's a lot of negativity on it, and I would back you guys up with that too. And we need to show the witnesses, the community, the XJW community, that we're not better than them, but we rise above that, like their negative qualities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd agree with you 100%. I mean, how do you deal with, with not having your family around and stuff? How do you get over that? Well, not over it. Obviously, you don't get over it, but how do you sort of deal with that on a day-to-day basis? Do you mind me asking?
Beer. I don't suggest it.
No, I guess you don't. No, but I mean, how do you get through the days? What do you just? I mean,
it's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Just you just do. Yeah. I mean, I think
I kind of lost my. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, my wife and I, we kind of lost our life after this religion. We never really recovered who we were, because we were hurt so bad, and it's sad, because some of the biggest people who have hurt us are our parents, and they're toxic people. We wouldn't even really want them around anymore after everything that happened, and I'm just so sad that Watchtower gets 2 new governing body members, and it's like you're bleeding out numbers, but you get 2 new guys. Whatever.
Right.
To shape the people's minds, to brainwash them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it must be. Well, my heart goes out to you. I know you've had a rough time, and but thanks for calling in and just making your point there.
You guys do keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you take care.
Thank you very much, brother.
All right.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's you know, that's another one that's been hurt by the Watchtower, you know. But you know, it is understandable. I mean, and yeah, I'm not saying that I've never sworn myself. I have. You know, there has been the odd time when I've swore, and it's been quite, you know, it's been quite fierce, to be honest. And it's not the way to go, but they do get you like that sometimes. And we're only human. We're only human. But I think when it's all the, you know, if you're sort of reacting all the time like that, it doesn't. You know, all they do, all the Watchtower do, or all the people in the organisation, the drones and everything. Oh, look at him! You know, look at him. He's left the Watchtower. He's an apostate, and look at all the bad language he's using, and you know, and that's how he always was, and that's why he's not a witness now. And you know, that's the sort of thing they use. You know, and it's you know, they would go on these sites and they would see all that language, and they'd say, oh, look at what these apostates and stuff are writing, and you know,
Right.
it's you know, so it's not really doing anybody any favors, you know, and I can understand it. Oh, I can certainly understand it. But I've been on other sites. I mean, I go on Quora, you know Quora, the site,
Yeah.
and I find that quite a good site. I mean, it's got all sorts on it, but I go on the ex-witness bit, and there was a guy on there, Mark something or other, can't remember his last name, Williams or something, Mark, something like that. Anyway, his first name was Mark. Anyway. And he was an atheist, and he's a staunch atheist, and he goes on a lot about, you know, the atheist side of things, you know, and well, he was an ex-JW. He'd done about 30 odd years, 35 years or something as a JW, but reading his story and him sort of when he answered things about the Watchtower and certain things that were going off. At this point, I was PMO. I was sort of on the verge of leaving the organizer, well, sort of just missing meetings at that point. And I went in, but the language was all right. There was no bad language in what he said at all. But what he said, you know, really hit me. And I just thought, oh yeah, that to me, that made more impact just reading a few things that he put, because it made me realize that not only was it just going on in my congregation, but it was obviously going in on his congregation, which was in America. And then I'm seeing other things on there, and again, most of it's quite polite. And you know, and yeah, I can understand them being frustrated, but you know, when you see a well-written piece about why they're wrong, such as say the blood transfusion thing, he'll put, you know, details down about that, the scriptures to go with it, etc., or whatever it is, you know, they'll prove, but they'll do it sort of nicely, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And I think it has a lot more impact than somebody effing and blinding and, oh, they did this to me, they did that to me. And like I say, I can understand that. It's human, we're all human, but
Right.
you know, we have to think how also this is impacting other people, because there are other people that want to come out, and our conduct can be the difference between them coming out or not, you know.
Well, we shouldn't
Oh
cuss
yeah.
on the radio,
I
Roland.
absolutely agree.
And trauma bonding is very real, and the trauma that we've all experienced is very real. The trauma of shunning and loneliness is all very real. So congratulate yourself that you're a strong person for going through this. And again, we did learn in Watchtower to schedule our week and our day. That helps. And to get new interests and new hobbies and new people. And at the end of the day, you know, when you got your head on the pillow, said, tell yourself, I did okay today, and tomorrow's a new day. And just live one day at a time with your life and learn to do you. And it takes years for some of us.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Pixie. You just summarized it so beautifully. I mean that. Thank you so much.
And I agree totally too. I mean, everything that the Watchtower has done to us, it seems like it's all by design. I'm one of Chad's neighbors from a little ways away, but whether it be, you know, we learn why every other religion is wrong. We learn how to prove it by their copy of the Bible or the reasoning book or the Watchtower magazines. they set us up that for failure if we should fail, and then we are completely isolated from our families. And then we develop such hatred because if we realize that every other religion is wrong, and then when we leave, what else is there? And it takes years. It takes
Brother, what we
absolute
talked
years.
last night or last week on the night side that the early birds didn't get, we talked about the Robert Lifton book about totalism from 1963 and how what we have all gone through, it may have been in Dior and it may have been in a more comfortable chair, not always, but it was the playbook for the Korean prison camp. So reading
I missed that. I'll have to go back and watch it.
The man's name is Lifton. The book is from 1963, and in the title is the word totalism, and there's a free copy online. But reading that book won't help you move forward. Reading that book just more, and you realize how you were denied learning and college and things, and how they played you, and we've all been played.
Absolutely.
And I try to
agree totally.
out of it because I have my top 10 where they have extorted money, they've hurt children, they've hurt women, they've killed people with the lack of blood. I've got a whole top 10, but my new 11 is these 2 new members of the governing body. I don't see you on the radio, but I bet you're all better looking than the new guys. They're not kind. Kindness is so important.
Well, it's just, as far as I'm concerned, it's just 2 more members to mock. You know what I mean? And I enjoy mocking them.
There we go.
A couple more Sesame Street Muppets.
Yeah.
They need to be Muppets. Too good, because the Muppets were brilliant. But,
yeah, they were.
Good old Jim
Anyway,
Henson.
Chad, good to see you. Roland, thank you for your
Thank
show.
you very much. Thanks for your call.
Easy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I noticed as well, she was saying about, Pixie was saying about, that you're strong to be here. And I think that more so if you've lost all your family as well, you've taken that stress, especially if you've disassociated and even disfellowship, because you know what's going to happen. And if you still go with it, so I think the fact that you've come out of it, the fact that you know you're going to leave it, that makes you strong anyway, because you know the circumstances. You know that if all your families are witnesses, and you know all your friends are witnesses, and that's all you've grown up with. I mean, that takes some courage. That takes some courage to just step out of that one day and say, that's it, I'm done with that. And some people say, well, perhaps they don't fully sort of take into account what they're doing, but I think most of them do. I think most of them actually do take into account what they do. I certainly did. All right, I didn't have a family so much to worry about. I mean, I have my youngest daughter, but she wasn't going to the meetings anyway, and I knew she would follow me more, so she would follow them. But I do think it's very, very courageous. And the fact that you've got to that point already, that means you're strong enough to do that. So therefore, you're a strong person. You're strong enough then to go forward and take each day as it comes, but each day just sufficient, you know what I mean? Each day is sufficient for itself, isn't it? So you just look after each day as it comes. I think Pixie said this, didn't you? Just one day at a time. But you've got this far so far to this point, and I just think that's quite miraculous, especially with some people who are in a lot worse situation than I was when I left, and it was a struggle for me because I had to literally make new friends and everything. I didn't have really any friends or such outside the congregation. So I had to make new friends. It was just lucky. Most of my family weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. And I had a brother who was a pastor. So, so that helped. So I was fortunate, but I do sort of hold my hat off, put my hat off to these people who have, they've lost the family, they've lost the friends, they've lost everything. They've been in the truth all their lives, and then they've suddenly come out one day, and yet they still continue to plod on, and they do their best to bring, to what they can do, So
yeah, absolutely. And I got to point out, Pixie brought up, I couldn't think of the word, but she brought it up. It was trauma bonding. And for those of you who don't know, it's where similar traumas form a bond that you can really interact with. And it can take two people with nothing in common, but because they suffered a similar trauma, that bonds them together. It helps them to find common ground to work together on. And I know on my program that I do every other Sunday, on Six Screen Sunday, there's a gentleman named Aaron I've been discussing with. He messaged me on Facebook attacking me, and I'm trying to get him to come on my program to talk and debate with me this next Sunday, not tomorrow, but the Sunday after that. And I'm hoping he'll come on, and I'm hoping some of the listeners will hear it, and maybe even just them being able to address some of the commonalities they see between his beliefs and the Watchtower beliefs. I think it'll be really beneficial for them, because that way it's them still addressing the same types of issues, but it takes a little bit of that personal edge off. So, and that's another thing is with trauma bonding, you can use that to reach out to people who may not have experience with the Watchtower, but maybe they're caught up in the Seventh-day Adventists or the Mormons or the Oneness Pentecostals or the Christian Science or something else. You can still reach out to other people, because as someone who has been in a cult, you have a unique experience and a unique perspective. And that's why one of my favorite things to do is to get people who were in a cult and they're not in one anymore, getting them involved in counter cult apologetics and trying to help people who are in other cults, because there's a certain bond that we share. I was in a different cult than a Jehovah's Witness. I was in a cult, but when I came out of it, I had my own baggage I had to deal with. And because of that experience I had, I'm able to relate to the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm able to relate to the current Jehovah's Witnesses. So there's a little bit of a unique experience there.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a similar thing. There was somebody I met a few months ago now. I can't remember what cult they'd been in. I can't remember what they're called now. What's the one that Tom Cruise is in?
Scientology.
Scientology, that's it. Scientology. Yeah, they'd been in that or something, and they was sort of telling me a bit about that, and it's very, very, very similar. And I mean, and like you say, there is this bonding, and all right, it's not quite the same. It may not be identical or whatever, but there's a lot of similarities in all these cults, and we all know how it feels to be, caught in something that just doesn't add up in the end, and how painful it is if we've spent a lot of time in there, and what different abuses go off in these different cults. And so we often think there's not many people out there that will understand us, but there's millions, there's thousands of us apostates, because more and more people are leaving the Watchtower. It's coming to an end, whether it likes it or not. They can build new media studios, they can build whatever they like, but or they can sell off Watchtowers, but what Kingdom Halls. But whatever happens, wherever they meet, they are dwindling, and they are going to. The tower is going to fall. And the thing is, there's so many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses out there, like myself, and we love to talk to each other, and I myself was really helped a lot, because I was really guilty about the blood issue, even after I left the Jehovah's Witnesses. And somebody said to me, because I was worried, well, is a test still a test, even though technically it wasn't biblical? I thought it was a test in my mind, so therefore was it? And I couldn't get my head round, I thought, well, did I fail God, even though biblically it wasn't necessary? I thought it was, and it was a very complicated sort of, my mind was just going round and round and round, and I got in a loop. and it was the XJW community that actually come to me aid, and because I actually asked on one of the a couple of the forums, and they came to me aid, and they said, look, what God gave you was insight into what was, what he was real, not what the Jehovah's Witnesses was making up. He was giving you that inner feeling to go ahead with the blood, transfusion. It wasn't that you was being tested as such. It was just that, basically, well, how can I put it? That God had basically, had given me the old clip, but it was the right thing to do. Let's put it that way. And God was basically putting it into my heart and soul that it was the right thing to do. So it overruled my JW programming, I guess, is what they said. And I thought, well, yeah, that makes sense. And it was. I can't remember exactly how they put it now, but it made sense at the time, and it was. And it helped me no end, and because I was stressed about that for ages, and one simple communique with a few other ex-witnesses, and I felt I could sleep at night,
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the time. Does anybody else want to comment? Anybody wants to come in?
Anybody
Bit quiet
else?
tonight. No, bit quiet tonight,
Yeah.
They're all asleep.
Probably.
Yeah, dear.
But yeah, I sometimes wonder, though. I know, just me myself. Sometimes I wonder if we were to start dealing with a lot of the current JWs that are in the forums and start putting the hot iron to their feet and start working together to ask them questions, to put the focus on them, how they're going to react. Because I know a lot of the times, and you've seen it too, they'll come out and they will want to start a big, huge argument when, I mean, it's easy enough to refute their entire premise in a single comment, and then they try to save face, so they'll try to drag it on for weeks. And I think if we were to start coming together, I think that would really help a good part of that. And instead of 60 of us trying to each one have our own little argument with the person, if we could all unite and say, why don't you answer this person's question? Why aren't you addressing this problem that this person brought up? I think that would be a good thing to help. But I mean, that's a slightly different subject. But yeah, I think as far as finding different hobbies, stuff like that, to get yourself to start like your own little bit of healing. I know one of the things, one gentleman I talked to, he always wanted to learn how to cook, and he started taking culinary classes at the local community college. And oh my goodness, now he's got his own restaurant. He can cook some good food too.
Yeah.
So you never know where a hobby is going to take you. I mean, just a hobby for him, he wanted to learn how to cook because he wasn't that good of a cook. Now he's got his own restaurant.
Well, there you go. Yeah, the possibilities of when you come out the organisation are endless. Really, it's just a matter of our confidence, and the trouble is, you see, as a witness, you're told that without them you'll fail. Without them you have nothing. You'll amount to nothing. And the only thing that is worth anything is staying in the organization, because then you'll get through Armageddon, and or you'll get a resurrection, or well, that's all they have to offer, and they don't even have that to offer, because it turns out that it's nonsense,
Right.
So,
well, isn't that alone, if you come out and then you thrive and you succeed, isn't that going to really be the ultimate victory over the Watchtower? Because
yes,
they've told you you're never going to amount to anything apart from us. And then if all of a sudden you come out and you get an education, or you just start a new career doing something you always wanted to do, and you become wildly successful, you have successfully proven them absolutely wrong. And your entire life, not anything you say or not anything you do, but just your life becomes a testimony against them. And I think that's probably one of the best ways, if you want to see the Watchtower come down quick, prove them wrong. When they say, apart from us, you'll never amount to anything, yeah, come out and get a great career. Come out and have an awesome life. You're proving them wrong that way.
Absolutely.
That's exactly it. One thing I wanted to note to Roland, since he just seems like such a kind and good gentleman, and I wonder, are you liking the Church of England? Did you become an Anglican, Roland?
No, I didn't. No, not a Church of England. No, because I can't be doing with them. They're a bit too high church, a bit like Catholic, you know. But no, I'm actually a born again evangelical Christian. So
because I was liking the Church of Episcopals here, because they have nice buildings. They have history buildings here in the East Coast of America. That's our oldest buildings. But what I was going to say was the whole notion of self-care. Chad was mentioning a gentleman that learned to be a cook and a chef. You know, everything that we were told in our brainwashing, we were not taught to enjoy our lives. We were not taught to celebrate ourselves, others, events. And so for me, it was really difficult. First, I had to get away to make a living, which I did. But then I had to admit, you know, people wronged me. And I had a good cry recently that I should have had decades ago. And then I said, okay, I'm going to do self-care because people hurt me and I even harmed myself. And I said, no, from here on out, I'm going to have a hot bath. I'm going to learn to make a decent meal. I'm going to take time for me and to nurture myself and nurture other people. And this was new. I was not that lady that's nurturing.
no. Well, this is it. And we have to, you know, we have to basically accept that it's all right to take care of ourselves and to enjoy ourselves. That's the thing, enjoyment. I mean, we literally had no enjoyment as a Jehovah's Witness. I can't remember any enjoyment. You know, for me, it was all stress. It was all going round, door knocking, going to meetings. Even when I was at home, I was under scrutiny because Jehovah was watching. You know, you whatever it was, you had no time for yourself. Even when you was ill, you had no time for yourself because, the best thing to do is get out there on the ministry because that'll get your mind off it. You know, think about other people. It's always think about other people. And when you first come out, you need to be thinking about, I don't want to mean in a selfish, you know, like just forget everybody else. But you need to give yourself care, as Pixie said a few times. You need to care for yourself first. You need to have that time for healing. You know, go off on a retreat and have a camping, you know, go on a spirit, whatever it takes. Give yourselves time. Go and have a spa or something, whatever it is, something that just gives you time for you. And try and do that, I think, over time. You know, every week I try and take a bit of time for myself and just try and enjoy myself, something I like to do personally, you know what I mean? And you don't get time to do that as a Jehovah's Witness, but you know, I'm starting to do it now and I'm starting to enjoy it, you know. So it's sorry, carry on.
It can be as simple as getting a new pillow that is supporting you when you sleep. And to say, okay, I'm going to get a certain number of hours of sleep. I'm not going to rush my shower and put my Kingdom Hall clothes on. I'm going to enjoy a hot shower or a hot bath. It doesn't have to be the world's definition of a luxurious spa. It can just be at home with a good meal, wonderful hot shower, and wonderful sufficient hours of sleep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I totally agree with that as well. I mean, I was using a spa or whatever as an example, but yeah, that just the simple things at home. Yeah,
Hydrated, arrested, things that we were, from my childhood on, it was like I was a soldier. It was like I was too Spartan. It was like I was jumping through somebody else's hoops in a circus. So self-care, just hydration, nutrition, wonderful bath, and wonderful sleep, and to just take care of ourselves, and then we can take care of other people and set an example.
Yeah.
And even with loneliness, don't be going for drinking alone or anything.
Oh no.
With a nice book or something. There's ways to do this. We did learn good morality and good habits as a witness, but we need to take care of ourselves a little bit more. Now, I'm going to listen to the show all night, and I've said my bit, and I wish everybody health and happiness.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Pixie. You've brought a lot to the table tonight, and it's appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 2 minutes left. Chad, do you want to tell us what's on next week, or what's coming up next, and then next week?
Yeah. Next up, we got the news coming up, and Rick's going to be talking about the whole issue with the brand new members of the governing body. So if you haven't heard about that, and I'm one who haven't, I've been real busy this past week. So I'm going to be listening very intently about these new governing body members. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Next week on Six Screen Sunday, I have invited a member of a cult known as the Oneness Pentecostals, the Oneness cult. I have invited one of them to come on and publicly debate me. He's been kind of wishy-washy whether he's going to be there or not, but we'll see if he's got the guts to show up. He was plenty bold enough to message me and you know, try to flog me out of the blue, but we'll see if he has the guts to come on and have a polite discussion about his beliefs versus biblical beliefs. And we'll see what he has to say if he comes on. If not, then I'll continue teaching on the cult he's in. So that'll be next Sunday, not tomorrow, but the Sunday after that at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. And next, in 2 weeks on this program, I think we were going to start talking about taking a mental inventory and also putting together a plan for success in life.
Yeah, I think that was the plan. Yeah. Well, we're called returning to light, and there is light after the Kingdom Hall. When we come out the Kingdom Hall doors, it can be a bit bright, it can be a bit overwhelming, but wow, it is great when you get used to it and you bathe in the heat of it. So we'd like to say thank you to all the viewers and everybody listening out there. I'd like to thank you, Chad, for being my co-host. And are you there, Rick?
I'm right here, Roland. Yeah, just getting things set up for the news. We got a lot of news to talk about tonight, but you guys did a good job and keep up the good work.
Okay, thanks Rick.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Well, there you have it. That's Roland and Chad coming to us. And we really appreciate the efforts they put forward in bringing this program every 2 weeks right here on the Six Screens Tele Network. Well, you want to stay with us, folks. We have a lot of things still to talk about tonight. Yes, we do. We've got a number of programs still coming up here on the Six Screens. We have JW World News. That's coming up next right here. And you don't want to miss it. We're going to be talking about they appointed 2 new governing body members. And we got some other news to talk about, too, that you might find really fascinating. And then at 9 o'clock, we have got our good man, Jimmy Bell. He's coming on with his team. And they're going to do a 2-hour special at 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. It's all about trafficking, human trafficking in the coming new world order. And it's happening as we speak. So they have a lot to talk about as far as that's concerned. And then, of course, at somewhere around 11 o'clock, in fact, I'll say 11 o'clock sharp tonight, we have After the Storm with ex-Jehovah's Witness Gail. She comes in from Houston, Texas, and she has a well-known hypnotist coming on tonight. You say, well, wait a minute, a hypnotist? Yeah, and she's going to be asking this hypnotist if the Watchtower, do they use hypnosis in their mind control techniques? Well, Gail's going to put that question to the hypnotist. And then later on tonight, about 12:30, 1 o'clock, if you can't sleep and you're pacing the floor and you don't know what to do, well, come on in and listen to Aposta Babe. She's your favorite apostate, and she'll be coming on to entertain you all night long right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Well, it looks like we're going to be able to go to our JW World News. I just want to make sure I got the right platforms up. So we're ending this broadcast, but stay with us, folks. We'll be going still on YouTube, Facebook. Stay with us. Come back in about a minute or two. We'll be having a new program up. Thank you very much for coming in to Returning to Light.